Welcome to a new video. Today you are going to know the experience of a girl from Milwaukie, a small town in the state of Oregon. At the end of the video I await your comment. And I ask you as always to leave me your like and subscribe to the channel. This way you help me to continue reaching more people. Now yes, I ask you to get comfortable because we start with today's story. My name is Emily and I live with my family in Milwaukie. I could tell you that all this started when I was about 8 years old. At that time I had many friends, but one of them was really special to me. We were always together, and we loved each other very much. Her name was Janet, and although her life was very normal, she needed a heart transplant. That is, in so many other cases, she never arrived. And sadly, she passed away very young. Although at that moment her departure affected me quite a bit. I think when we're kids, we have that ability to overcome things much faster. That when we are growing up, it was so that after a short time I was feeling quite well. I never forgot her, and I always suffered for not having her as her friend. Or rather, for not being with her as we always had been. The years passed, and the year 2014 came. I was 13 years old at the time, and I do not know why, but an incredible need to be with Janet arose in me. I think I began to feel and suffer from her absence, much more than at any other time. I never understood why it happened to me at that moment. There were even nights where I couldn't stop crying. Maybe I was understanding and taking more notion of how it was the end of her, and how unfair life had been with her. But honestly, I don't know why I was feeling so depressed. The first thing I remember happening to me, it was one day when I came home from school. I was super tired and all I wanted was to bathe. And so I did. I put on music, which is a custom I've always had. And while I was in the shower, something very strange happened. The music stopped for no apparent reason, and I hear someone knock on the bathroom door. My dad always had the habit of knocking on the door, in the form of a joke, because I knew that bothered me a lot. But at that moment he was banging on the door non-stop, and in an unbearable way. I put a towel on my body and opened the door, but I was surprised, because my dad wasn't there, and there was no one. I finished taking a bath, combed my hair, got dressed and went to the kitchen. There I saw my dad who was sitting. I reproached him because he had knocked on the door, but he immediately answers me, "No, daughter, it was not me." I didn't believe him at first, but I got a little scared when I realized that it was impossible, that when I opened the door, while they were beating her, my dad, he'll manage to hide so fast. And I think it was at that moment that my fear began. Something strange was happening in my house and I didn't know what it was. Sometime later my parents were not at home. I was alone with my brother, and at about 10 at night I went to bathe. This time everything was worse. While I was taking a bath, again someone started knocking on the door. My parents weren't there and my brother didn't make those jokes on me. Besides, he was playing with the computer in his room. Every second scared me more and more. The blows were getting stronger and stronger. I can't explain to you how scared I felt. I got out of the shower, I got dressed, as I could. I opened the door and ran out to look for my brother. I told her while I was crying everything that had happened to me, but he didn't believe me. I called my parents, but they didn't believe me either. I don't know for what reason, but these events, they were given more or less every 15 days. They weren't very often. What if I assure you was that? I was very scared every day. On another occasion something very strange that happened to me was at dawn. I never get up during the night, but this time I woke up very thirsty, and I had no choice but to go down to the kitchen to get a glass of water. While I was in the kitchen drinking water, I looked to the side, where we have a large window. And it is to this day that my body trembles when I remember it. Through the window I see a whitish figure, which was looking at me. I couldn't distinguish very defined features, but I knew he was watching me. He slowly moved to the patio area, and disappeared. The next occasion was weeks later. I was pretty tired because it was hard for me to sleep. As I told you, I felt scared all the time. I was in my room lying down, and my dad had just arrived from work. We always used to, that when he came home from work, he used to call me, so that I could come down to have a coffee with him. That day he arrived I heard him call me. And what happened that afternoon I think was what filled my nerves, and I couldn't take it anymore.
Well, that day he heard my dad call me. I get up to go down to the kitchen. And since my house has 2 floors, first I have to go through my brother's rooms and those of my parents, and then go down the stairs. So as I told you, I hear that he calls me. I open the door of my room. He went through my brother's room and my parents' room. And reaching the stairs I hear a whisper, coming from my parents' room. I walk over to open the door a bit more. And there I see Jennifer. I mean, it was a black shadow with the face of my friend. That she was calling me. I hear her say Emily. And when I saw her, I was paralyzed. I didn't know what to do. At that moment, a horrible feeling ran through my entire body. A feeling of anguish, horror and fear. They saw in me a lot of memories from when we were girls. It was very scary to see her. I never thought that after she died, I would see her again. And something that always stays in my heart. It's just that I could never say goodbye to her. At that moment, the first thing I did was stay paralyzed. But when I could react, the first thing I did was run away. I went down the stairs and asked my dad please to do something because I couldn't take it anymore what was happening to me. I told him that a lot of things had already happened to me in that house. And that I wanted to leave that house. I couldn't take it anymore.
Another situation that happened. But this time, it wasn't that it happened to me. It was one afternoon when a friend of my brother came. This boy had left the bicycle in the yard, just where this white figure had appeared to me. And when this boy was about to leave, it was that taking his bicycle and doing only a few meters, something pushes him strongly, making him fall to the side of the road. At that precise moment, both this boy and my brother, assured that this time it was not a white figure, the one they saw, since what they had seen, it was a black shadow, which emerged from a corner of the courtyard, and headed quickly inside the house, crossing and pushing my brother's friend on the way. At that moment they both got so scared that they ran away, and it was a little while later that they were encouraged to take the bicycle again. This thing that happened to them, my brother told my dad and my mom. And it was at that moment that they remembered of the shadow that I had seen in my parents' room. From that moment my parents began to listen to me, and they became a little more aware that, really, something bad was happening to me. And being something so serious, they made the decision to take me to church. From the city where we lived, I will never forget the feeling of tranquility and peace that entered my body that day, while he prayed asking please, that this thing that tormented me would leave me alone. The pastor approached me. He put his hand on my head, and he said a few words to me that I have fused in my conscience. He said, all evil and all beings that want to hurt this girl, they leave, that they retire in the name of the Lord. Since that day, never again. Something similar happened to me again, and I hope that nothing like this ever happens to me again. The question that remains in today's case. It's because this entity tormented Emily. And we have the doubt. If that black shadow in the room with Janeth's face. Was it really Janeth? Or perhaps it was another entity, taking her form. To be able to get close. And fulfill a completely unknown and different objective. I would like, as always, find out what your opinion is. Thank you for reaching the end of this video. I send a big hug to all of you.